Alrighty, Kevin, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. We've had the moment to discuss off the recording here. Briefly, we discussed the company, the role. So now, Kevin, I would love for you to take over and tell me a little bit about yourself, your professional experience, and we'll go from there.
Sure, of course. Thank you so much. So I have been working in technology for a long time. Early in my career, I was more on the hardware side. I built computers and network. I pulled cables. I was a systems administrator, a network administrator. So I have a lot of hardware experience. So that's a good thing. Later in my career, I transitioned more to the software side. So understanding software, building software solutions, working with development teams, delivering solutions for clients, things like that. So it's been, kind of on both sides of the house, the hardware side and the software side.
That's amazing. And I know formerly you were at Centera. So tell me a little bit about that role.
Yeah, of course, no problem at all. So most recently, I worked for Centera Health Plan. They are a health plan up in the Virginia area. And my role there was to provide solutions for their contact center. So this is the area, and I don't want to call it, I'm trying to avoid saying call center, because they do inbound text, they do inbound email, and of course they do phone calls as well. So my job was to work with them to identify problems and challenges that they have when they're getting those inbound inquiries from members, and then to deliver solutions to solve those problems, to make agents more efficient, to reduce average handle time if someone is on the phone, those sort of things.
Amazing. Now, I want to go back to the sales, right? Because this is going to be a fully sales role. So tell me a little bit about your experience with sales or the sales cycle from, prospecting to closing with a client.
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously very applicable. So I have worked side by side with sales in the past in my roles. In fact, many times I would accompany salespeople on calls to key client sites. They would often kick off the conversation and they would turn to me and say, hey, can you demonstrate, our solution, show them how it works, show them some of the key features, differentiators, things like that. So that was my role, but I was there. I was talking to clients. I was working with them, understanding what was going on. I was the product expert. By the way, when we talk about sales, I think there's very few things that are more important than understanding your product well. So, I've always tried to be a product expert and then listen carefully to the client and understand, what are their problems and, what is the best solution for them.
Absolutely. That was very well said, Kevin. And we know that with targeting clientele, sometimes you may handle a client that is unhappy. How are you able to overturn that?
Yeah, that's another great question. And I think that, coming across clients that are maybe dissatisfied for whatever reason is inevitable. But I think the key is how you respond to that, right? And I think one of the first things for me that I found that's always been very helpful is just to empathize. In other words, try and understand, say, don't dismiss it. Just say, I am so sorry you're having this problem. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on and how I can help you resolve this issue. In some cases, there may be a very easy solution. Maybe the customer just needs more training or didn't have something configured right if it's a software or hardware solution. So sometimes there's very easy answers. Other times it may be something that, is going to take more time, more investigation. But, in that part of it, it's more about the constant communication, the continued follow-up. You can say, I'm completely okay, by the way, saying to any client, you know what, I just don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to look into it for you. I don't think there's a problem. No one can know everything, but I think it's important to make sure that you're communicating, you're following up, and then driving, that dissatisfaction to hopefully an ultimate remedy or solution.
Absolutely. That was amazing, Kevin. And I would love to know, right? Because sales is a position to where not many people stay for a long time. So what is it that you like about sales in itself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think one of the things that, early in my career, like I said, I was more on the hardware side, back rooms, pulling cables, wiring things, putting memory on motherboards, things like that on computers and stuff. And what I found was as my career progressed, I really enjoyed the human element more, working with people, talking with people. And, when we think about sales, one of the things that, brings me the most satisfaction is being able to provide solutions to real problems. Customers, they don't just need something sold to them. They need something sold to them that will help them solve problems in their business. So, I derive a lot of satisfaction from being able to work with them, listen to them, and identify solutions that will solve their problems and give them satisfaction.
Absolutely. And Kevin, I want to know, because you're seeking a new opportunity. So in this next opportunity, what do you look for within the company?
That's a great question. And I think one of the things for me that I would say is I'm looking for a company that is progressive, that is not kind of resting on their laurels, right? I mean, technology in particular continues to advance. And what made a company successful today may not necessarily make them successful tomorrow or in the future. So I think that it's important for me when I'm looking at a company, considering different opportunities, I want to hear about things that they're doing to remain relevant they don't, no company has to always be on the bleeding edge, but certainly, be, progressive and thinking about, hey, what's on the horizon, what's coming. Everyone's always talking about AI now, but very few companies are executing very well in terms of, we want to build something with AI because that's what everyone wants, but no one really knows how to execute and deliver something that's adding value with AI. So, I want to, that would be interesting to know, what are some of the challenges that the company is facing? How are they addressing those? And where do they want to be in a couple of years? If a company can tell me this is where I want to be in a couple of years, to me, that's a company that's thinking ahead and planning ahead.
That was amazing, Kevin. My last question for you is going to be, when are you looking to start a new position?
That's a great question. So I am very interested in getting started. I can start pretty quickly. So I'm excited to move into that new role and take that next step and hopefully add a lot of value.
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this interview. It has been truly a pleasure getting to know your professional experience. So I appreciate your time, Kevin.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. I don't want you to hang up on me quite yet. I want to continue chatting with you for a brief moment here.
Yep.
Thanks.